let's talk about hours of service. Hello and welcome everybody to Safety Update with Sam. I, of course, am Sam, the safety supervisor for Meiborg, Silver Arrow, all that good stuff. So thank you very much for joining me. I know that you guys are busy out there on the road and taking the 10-15 minutes out of your day to watch this. Don't think I don't notice, except for those that aren't watching. You know who you are. I know who you are. Watch. Anyways, okay, that sounded a little threatening. I'm not here to threaten anybody. But anyways, okay, so there's been a couple things that have popped up recently that I just kind of want to address here, and they all have to do with hours of service. So one thing that I just want to get out of the way here right now are CSA scores. Okay, that is how the federal government judges whether or not we are a safe company. Okay, they give us a score in our CSA. There's 7 different categories. One of them is being hours of service. For Silver Arrow and for Meiborg, both of those companies, the CSA score is over the threshold now in hours of service. So what does that mean? It means that we're failing a lot of roadside inspections when it comes to hours of service. It means we have violations in our logbook. And while one category over the threshold won't make a difference too much, I don't like it there, okay? We need to get rid of it. So how do we do that? We eliminate the violations, okay? We eliminate the violations on the roadside inspections. That means that you run a clean logbook, and then when you get a roadside inspection, the DOT officer doesn't see any HOS violations, and then we don't have them. That's how that works, okay? There is some math in the background, but I'm not going to get into that because I want you guys to watch, and it's not a math lesson, and quite frankly, I'm not a math wizard either. But there's a way that they do that and all that good stuff. But just here's the bottom line. We need to make sure we're not running HOS violations. If you get pulled over, that DOT officer can look up to 7 days in your past. So if you're like, hey, my logbook today is great, but you had violations yesterday, you can get picked up for that. Now, I don't say that to say, well, okay, as long as I can stay clean for 7 days, then we'll be good to go. No, okay? Because if a DOT audit were to happen, let's say we are over our threshold and the CSA score with hours of service and unsafe driving and driver or vehicle maintenance. Okay, now we're at 3. 3 is kind of that magic number. 2 could be, but 3 is that magic number when the FMCSA is going to start coming in and going, hey, we kind of want to see your operations, okay? That's what they call the audit. We don't want that. But if an audit were to ever happen with the CSA or with the FMCSA, they can look up to years in the past, okay, of violations. And every violation that they see could equate to a fine, like a decent sized fine. So we need to really concentrate on our logbooks, okay? We all know, or if you don't, let me re-educate you a little bit. You get 14 hours of work time in a day, okay, on duty time. 11 of those hours can be for driving, okay? So you only get 11 hours of drive time. I have seen in the last couple weeks, and I've talked to some drivers where I've seen them go into violation, and here's the big one too, guys. I've seen like 2 to 3 hours worth of personal conveyance used. And that throws up a lot of red flags, not just for me, but DOT officers. If they pull you over and they see that you drove, 10 and a half, 11 hours in the day, and then at the end of the day, they have 2.5 hours of PC time for parking, they're not going to buy that. Okay. They're going to figure out, because it shows where you're at. That's the other thing too. It's if you're in Louisville, Kentucky, and you have 2 hours of PC to personal convey to, outside the Indianapolis area, the DOT officer's not stupid. They're going to say you had plenty of parking spots in between there. So we need to be very careful with our hours of service. Do not go over the 11 hours, okay? If you're on a hot load or you got to make a pickup or whatever, This is where load planning comes into play, because if you accept a load and you don't have the hours to drive it and you still try to drive it, that's on you, okay? You can't do that. We have load planners, we have dispatchers, we have a lot of drivers. The load planners and the dispatchers are very good at what they do, and they're very good at knowing where you're at, kind of a general idea of what your hours are, but I'm telling you right now, they do not have all of your hours of service memorized, okay? So if you are running low on hours, or let's say you got a pickup that's 2 hours away and you only have an hour left, or you know you can't make delivery on time with that, you have to speak up, okay? You can't just say, well, dispatch wanted me to get it, so I did anything I could to get it. No, that's not an excuse, okay? We can't do that. If you don't have the hours to run something, you can't just throw it in PC and go, okay? Or you can't just run over on your drive hours and be like, well, I had to get it, so I had to go an hour and a half past my drive. No, that doesn't work, okay? We need to be very careful with our hours of service. In the safety department, I'm a cool guy, okay? I trust you guys doing a lot of stuff. I'm going to start cracking down even harder on HOS. I've heard a lot of the excuses that you guys have had, and I understand. Like I said, I come from an operations background, so I know what you guys are trying to do. I know what the company is trying to do as far as getting the miles, getting the revenue. I get it. But there's also some very big concerns and some really real dangers that come with HOS violations. And we're actually going to look at something on one of those things on the dash cam video today, of why it is very important to keep a good logbook, okay? So if you have questions about hours, if you're saying, I don't know if I have enough hours, or stop, take a look at your logbook. If you need to, call me. We can run through it real quick and see if you do have the hours to do something, but we gotta crack down on the hours of service. I don't want to see violations anymore, okay? That's just something that we can avoid, and we're going to do that, all right? And we're going to get both Silver Arrow and Meiborg back under the threshold, so we don't have to worry about HOS violations on the CSA score, okay? If you have questions about that, let me know, okay? All right, so now we're going to take a look at a dash cam video on why it is extremely important to keep your hours of service in good order. Okay, so here we are. This is actually dash cam from a different company, and you'll see why here in just a second. But the setup is it's at night, it's raining, and let's take a look here and you'll see what exactly goes on in this footage. So we have this truck that drives past us, and now again, here we come with our truck. There's us coming by, and we got over too soon, okay? We got over too soon on that one, and the mirror, as you can see, got clipped right there, okay? There was also a deer guard or Bambi buster, whatever you want to call it, on the front there that got a nick out of it. Okay, raining, hard to see. It's a tough situation to drive in. I get it. And now you might be thinking, well, what's the point? What does this have to do with hours of service? The footage that we're watching from this from this driver here, this driver is suing us, okay? We've paid for the mirror, we've paid for the deer guard, but now all of a sudden their back hurts and they've got other aches and pains. And so we're working with this right now in court. But here's the deal, okay? What do you think the opposing lawyers, what do you think their first question was to me of things that they wanted to see? If you said hours of service, give yourself a high five, okay? That's the first thing that they wanted to see. What our drivers' hours of service look like. Because what they're trying to do is they're trying to prove that our driver shouldn't have been on the road at this time. And so they're trying to go back through their hours of service and find any sort of discrepancy that they can find, okay? Here's the problem. If they find something, that's a big issue for us now, okay? If the other lawyers, here's the deal, guys. I know we've heard about nuclear verdicts. I know we are not huge fans of lawyers and all that kind of stuff, but they're out there, okay? And they make a lot of money doing what they're doing, going after semi-truck companies. We do not need to give them, as a trucking company, we do not need to give them any more fuel, because here's the deal. They know exactly what to look for. They know exactly what they need to have. I mean, these lawyers that go after trucking companies, they know how to do it very well, okay? They're good at what they do. And so they're looking for anything to prove that we shouldn't have been on the road and that we were negligent in our actions, and that they're looking to prove that you are a bad driver. They're looking for everything, okay? And they know exactly what to ask for. They know exactly what to look for, and they get them. And we are seeing massive verdicts off of this stuff. So that is why I say you need to make sure your logbooks are in order, because again, this could happen to anybody. I don't care. The driver in this video, our driver in this video was one of the most experienced drivers on our fleet, okay? One of the most experienced drivers on the fleet. And a common thing, it's raining, it's hard to see, pulls back over, clips the front mirror. You guys have done that. Some of you guys have done that, okay? Let's not beat around the bush here. Like, this is not an uncommon thing to happen in a semi-truck. But the first thing the lawyers wanted to see was the driver's logbook. And this happened a couple years ago, okay? So we had to go back and get those logs. So it's not like, well, it's from this year and we're good now. No, they can go back for years and look at logbooks, okay? So that's what I'm saying. We have to make sure that we're keeping our logbooks safe, or not safe, but in order, because this is not an uncommon thing. And the first thing the lawyers wanted to see was a logbook. And if there was logs on here, now luckily this driver was running a good logbook, but if I gave him the logbook and there were red lines, if this driver, let's say if this driver was driving and he was at 11 hours and 22 minutes on his drive time, he would be in massive trouble, because a lawyer right out of law school would be able to prove that he shouldn't have been on the road. And if he wasn't on the road, this driver would not be experiencing the pain and the suffering that they are. That's how they go, guys. This is the world we live in now in trucking. So make sure your logbooks are in order, okay? I'm going to keep a much closer eye on them now. If I see discrepancies, I'm going to be reaching out to you and saying, what's going on? Why did we do this? What can we do differently, okay? But yeah, if you have questions about your logbooks or about hours of service or exemptions or personal conveyance or yard moves or anything like that, please let me know, okay? I'm here to help you guys out. But yeah, it's very important, okay? I've tried to stress this before, but I'm stressing it again. Make sure your logbooks are in order, okay? That's it. That's what I want to get through to you guys today. If you have questions, let me know. Contact information at the bottom. You can call, you can text, you can email, you can do all that stuff. Don't send a carrier pigeon. I can't return them, okay? That's the problem. We live in Rockford. They keep getting shot out of the sky. It's tough. So anyways, get a hold of me if you need to. And as always, guys, make sure that when you're out there that you drive safe.